We've seen the leaks for the Orc Codex. We looked through them. There are more rules per unit, more detachments available at a 1 detachment point, meaning you'll take like 3 of them, therefore having about 9 stratagems, 6 enhancements available, and 3 detachment rules. That's a lot of rules added. All of the Orc units, no, most of the Orc units, have more hitting power and less defense. No invulnerable save in the Green Tide detachment. No more Feel No Pain from the Pain Boy. It is easier to kill Orcs if they're not killing you with their Strength 5 basic attacks. We know points are going to go up on the Orcs. The Orc Warboss is going to go up 15 points at least at its first balance patch. Give it a month after that, it may change again. Give it 3 months after that, it'll change again. Ghazghkull may need to go up some more in points. Every army is getting a bit more elite, seemingly. That can be good. Fewer units to play the game means games can be smaller without being simpler. You don't need to buy as many models. Weird Games Workshop is doing this. I did not expect that of them. But you have to remember more rules for your fewer units. So we come to the upcoming... No, we haven't arrived yet at the upcoming Space Marine release. The updates. Their codex, their 11th edition codex. But there are many things we know, making the Space Marines even more elite. Their army rule is going to change to combat doctrines instead of Oath of Moment. Maybe swap around the rules with the Gladius Task Force, and that has a Oath of Moment as its detachment rule. We know that Phobos Marines are going to change to Movement 8 and stay at Toughness 4. There is no mention of Space Marine Scouts getting any such change. Tacticus armored units like Stern Guard and Intercessors, most Space Marine units, will be going to Toughness 5. Their base strength of their basic weapons will also be moved to Strength 5. Power Fists may stay at Strength 8 or be Strength 10 to match the rule of previous editions that a Power Fist doubles your strength. So this is another toughness and strength increase to the Space Marines after the Intercessors first came out in 8th edition and had 2 wounds instead of 1, and bolters that had armor penetration. Space Marines will be better able to shrug off a lot of small arm shots and destroy enemy units easier. Maybe more like Movie Marines, which was something we had as like a fan idea back in 3rd or 4th edition, where the Space Marines would act like they do in the books. Though the books always depended on who was writing the Space Marines. Maybe one Space Marine gets killed by 3 Orcs. Maybe one Space Marine kills 300 Orcs. It depends who's got the pen in their hand at the time. The main change we know is the change to the Intercessors. Their unit rule is no longer bonus shots or sticky objectives, objective secured. They can shoot and complete an action the way that Orc Boys can fight and complete an action. But the Intercessors can also be engaged and do an action, and they can be battle shocked and start an action. Though you'll need another unit to hold the objective, as you won't have any objective control. But right there is a very big power creep from one codex to the next codex that comes out like 4 weeks later. And they get +1 to hit if they're on an objective or the target of their attacks is on an objective. So they've lost the double shot +2 attacks against one target, but being Toughness 5 and going to be higher points, like 115 points for 5, maybe? Have the Intercessors gotten worse at their job? A main reason to take them was because they could clear out hordes and they had objective secured. They're not doing that anymore. Other units were the ones we wanted killing the enemy. And being the anvil. Basic Intercessors are more like heavy Intercessors were. Bolt pistols are going to have AP -1. I don't know if that means the heavy bolt pistol will be AP -2 or just be a bolt pistol with longer range. Their bolt rifles have 2 kinds of mode. A version with heavy, 1 shot, strength 6, -1 AP, damage 2, or assault, then you can advance and shoot, with 2 shots at strength 5, AP -1 and damage 1. Heavy as a rule is kind of redundant with their new rules. You either get +1 to hit from heavy by moving 3 inches or less, or you get +1 to hit against enemies on an objective, or +1 to hit if you're on an objective. You can't stack +1 to hit and +1 to hit, and you'll still be affected by -1 ballistic skill from shooting at an enemy unit in cover. Heavy plus attacking an enemy unit on an objective that's also get the benefit of cover will mean you hit at basic ballistic skill, 3+. The +1 to hit and +1 to hit cancels out to just +1 to hit, then you apply separately the -1 ballistic skill. So your ballistic skill is 4+, but you get +1 to hit, so you're back to hitting on a 3. They have the same weapon options as before. There's a grenade launcher. The sergeant can take a hand flamer or a plasma pistol as ranged weapons. The intercessors are also getting new models, but that seems kinda pointless. There are so many intercessors. They just redid a new lot in the Armageddon set, but this is a unit of all men with bolters. There's not much variety you can apply. And they used to give away intercessors for free as a painting model. Part of the whatever to the Armageddon set has been because about half of the Space Marine models are basic intercessors. They should have done tactical squads with more weapon options. Turn intercessors into tactical squads, then there's at least some variety in the weapon options, some thought and some choice you can put into it. You can't say that Games Workshop wants 40k to be more simple by having all of the units have only the same weapon when they keep adding kill team units that have 40k rules, and there are 14 kinds of war gear option and special rule you can pick from for the war gear, and different guns and different weapons, and maybe 3 data sheets and more come from one kill team. But to combine the intercessors in the tactical squad, well, some older marks of armor are creeping in. We have a guy with the studded pad. That's like Corvus armor. Yay. So there is a definite power increase to the intercessors rules. This does feel a lot like 9th edition and like 7th edition, where a faction got their codex and their power level rocketed upwards to be ahead of everyone else. Then another codex would come out, and its power would be even higher than the previous faction that got a codex. This culminated in 9th edition with the Votan Codex, which could wipe out an Imperial Guard army which did not have a 9th edition codex before turn 2. And that was about average for their units and their rolling. In 7th edition, there were formations. Your codex would come out, and you had the option of combining certain units together, and then you get a bonus unit rule. Think of it like a detachment for 10th edition, but as long as you included a certain number of units, you got that detachment in your army, and there wasn't really a limit on the number of detachments you have. You have 3 land speeders, you get the Fulgris Task Force. You have 1 Terminator unit, you get a Terminator detachment. You have 2 bike units, you get a bike detachment. All together, stacking on top of each other with more and more special rules. The most famous of which was the Space Marine Demi Company, where you had 3 tactical squads, an assault squad, a devastator squad, and it was led by either a captain or a chaplain. This was before lieutenants, and every unit got a free rhino. The rhinos were free. So 2,000 points of Space Marines would be 2,350 points of Space Marines. And you couldn't really deal with that until your codex came out and you got a super strong formation. While the points will balance this to some extent, as the Orc Codex has come out, as the Space Marine Codex has come out, there are way more detachments to choose from than any other faction gets, although that's not a new thing for Space Marines. Orc Boys are always Strength 5, Elite Knobs are now 3 wounds, while other factions without a Codex will not get a boost. Bad news for Necrons, Toughness 5 Immortals won't feel as tough, as more and more things are given ways to deal with the Toughness 5 of the Space Marines and the Orcs. It sets out 2 levels for the armies. Those that have Strength 10 Damage 3 grenade launchers, and those with a less strong, more random Strength 9 Damage D6 melter guns. To prevent one problem that came in 9th edition, Chaos Space Marines and other Space Marine type factions are getting an update to their stats. At the start of 9th edition, every Space Marine, like Tactical Marines and Devastator Marines, were given 2 wounds, bringing them in line with the Primaris stuff. Chaos Space Marines were only given 2 wounds about 2 years later. So they had a very different feel to them, despite the concept that these are meant to be pretty much the same guys. If someone betrayed their chapter, they lose a wound and benefits that were given to their bolt weapons. How far Games Workshop goes with this particular update is not known. It may only be a toughness increase. Toughness 5 Legionaries, Toughness 6 Chaos Terminators. This change could be a few lines on the PDF and an update to the app, if you bought the codex to have the code to use the app. Will Gravis Marines be changed to Toughness 7? Or will Space Marines be Toughness 4, Toughness 5, or Toughness 6? Will Centurions be boosted to Toughness 8? You don't need tanks, you have infantry with the endurance of a tank right here. I think they are unlikely to increase the toughness of Battle Sisters. In fact, I'm pretty certain they're not going to increase the toughness of Battle Sisters now. Maybe in their codex. Maybe Sisters will eventually be toughness 4 in 11th edition, as Sisters were toughness 4 in 2nd edition to account for the power armor giving increased durability compared to flak armor. If Marines move out of toughness 4 for the main part, that is an open slot for us. Then the stripped down Phobos armor is going to have the same toughness as a fully armored Battle Sister. But this update is to focus on the Space Marine factions. Maybe they will remember that Imperial agents have Death Watch, which could do with the same update, but that's not guaranteed. Imperial agents are often forgotten by Games Workshop. So how do other factions deal with the power creep? Is Games Workshop going to keep upping the points of Space Marines to keep everyone else kind of playable? Or is the idea that Space Marines will have only the mildest of points increases, everyone else's points drop, and there's the way Games Workshop makes money. Every faction that isn't Space Marines has to buy more models to make sure that they still have a 2,000 point army. Space Marines are the most commonly played army, everyone else needs to know how to deal with them, but I don't know if I can fit more Genestealer cultists in my box. Our weapons are going to be less effective at taking down Space Marines. The Acolyte mining tools that were strength 5 and damage 3 could deal with a Terminator. That is harder when I wound them on a 5+, and the auto guns, no matter the armor penetration boost I give them, will wound Terminators on a 6+. Melter guns in 9th edition were there to destroy tanks. In 10th edition they deal with heavy infantry. In 11th edition, on a 1 or a 2 you don't wound a basic Space Marine. If they have an invulnerable save of 4+ because they're a Chaos Terminator, half of the melter shots that get through and do wound do not hurt the Chaos Space Marine. Then you have to roll random damage. If you roll a 1 or a 2, you didn't kill a Chaos Space Marine Terminator. You're gonna need a lot of melter guns to kill a couple of models. That's why I think they'll start dropping the points of a lot of the armies that are not Space Marines, not Chaos Space Marines, because they'll need to apply more weapons to deal with the problem. And it doesn't matter if Sisters are playing against Tau. There's even more things on the table that are just as good at killing each other as they were 6 months ago. We don't know what they're going to do with bolters. Battle Sister bolters will probably stay at strength 4 for now. Chaos Space Marine bolters may be strength 5, but will they have the armor penetration of the Intercessors or the option to fire strength 6 damage 2 shots? Probably not. That's probably going to be an Intercessor only thing. Space Marines are going to be the best of the Space Marines, and also better than every other faction, putting the Sisters to shame, and moving faster than the Eldar. Eldar move 7 inches, Phobos Marines are faster. Will people get armor penetration on their bolters? Again, maybe not. The Intercessors were the unit that had armor penetration 1 bolters. That may not apply to every kind of bolter. If there's suddenly a lot of extra armor penetration to go around, this is how we get the emergency armor of contempt patch that we had in 9th edition. Every powered armored faction had every single one of their units have essentially the armor of contempt stratagem on all of the time. That is how absurd the power creep got in 9th edition. And when I say every unit in all of those factions, I mean Archoflagellants, I mean Chaos Cultists and Chaos Spawn, all got to ignore 1 point of armor penetration. And Eldar got blown to shreds. To shreds, I say. If they don't increase the strength of the bolters of other factions, Space Marines will wound a Chaos Space Marine on a 3+ with their strength 6 bolters, while the Chaos Space Marines with their strength 4 bolters will wound a Space Marine on a 5+. So either the balance that comes with the release of the Space Marine Codex will not be very effective at balancing out the game, or it will be a massive update on a scale not seen even within a balance patch. And massive updates seen beyond the scale of a balance patch is probably what we're going to get as far as Space Marine factions are concerned. The supplement books. All Divergent chapter codices are immediately invalidated. Come the start of October, the Dark Angels, the Space Wolves, the Blood Angels, the Black Templars Codex are better used as a painting palette. Their rules are gone. If you bought one of these books recently, I'm sorry to tell you that. This is how Games Workshop operates. Their rules are expensive and change regularly. This is why many of us use online resources like Warpedia. It takes a few days, maybe weeks for the update to come, but it's there for free. The good news for people who play these factions, yes, even Space Wolves, all of them will get a PDF update and join the Death Watch as an index. So if you hadn't bought the book, that's good. Your rules are now free. This update will have updated unit rules with new toughnesses and new strength and such, and some changed detachments. Maybe new detachments. Maybe stripped down detachments. As what you thought was a really cool detachment now becomes 1 detachment point and has 1 enhancement and 3 stratagems. For all of these Space Marine factions, it is back to index. The Death Watch will get a look in at the same time to update their toughness, their weapon strength, etc. That has been confirmed through comments by Games Workshop on Facebook and YouTube that the Death Watch are okay and continuing. There was no mention of them in the article, but it has been confirmed that they're sticking around and get the update. When that is updated, I will do a video on the Death Watch, which hopefully includes the Imperial Agent's Death Watch. At that point, each index should get their own army rule to replace the Oath of Moment, while the Codex-compliant Space Marines will get the Combat Doctrines army rule. The Death Watch should get Mission Tactics, which is currently listed in their army rule section, but the 10th edition rule that made you ignore that if you were not playing the Black Spear Task Force has not appeared in 11th edition. Rules as they stand right now, Death Watch have 2 army rules. The Grey Knights and the Chaos Space Marines continue with their respective codex. Grey Knights getting Toughness 5 Marines and Toughness 6 Terminators and Strength 5 Stormbolters. Now the bit that many people skip to, the Legends. Legends rules continue to be rules. If your unit is in Legends, it continues to have rules and gets updated rules at Codex release. See the Dark Eldar Legends. They got some really cool stuff. It's Legends rules, but it's rules. Now, the Legends units will be added to the 40k app. So when the Orc Codex comes out, Orc Legends will be in the app. When the Space Marine Codex comes out, the Space Marine Legends units will be in the 40k app. The same as they are for the Age of Sigmar app, the same as they are for most other apps that do a list building and rules checking for 40k. Legends is not a massive problem unless people try and make it a problem. Legends units models are not sold anymore, but unless you are trying to buy them this week, you won't have noticed that many of these have not been available to buy for months. Some tournaments ban Legends. It is written here from the Games Workshop website when and where you can use them. You can use them at home, you can use them in clubs, you can use them in stores, you can use them in campaigns. You can use them at tournaments unless the event organizer doesn't let you use them. You shouldn't need to ask permission to use Legends. That was a rule back in 8th edition. And you definitely shouldn't need to ask permission to use Legends if you're playing in the back of your dad's garage. But talking to your opponent is a good idea to check that they aren't the kind of person that's like, tournament rules are all the time rules, kicks puppy. If they don't do it at a grand tournament, we don't do it here. Kicks puppy again until it gives money to fund deforestation. No fun allowed. This is 40k. And if you want to play by the outdated terminology of open play, narrative play, and match play, Legends are allowed, as anything in the faction pack is match play, and that is where the Legends units also live, in that free PDF. Games Workshop hasn't defined these terms and didn't last edition, so it is a pretty meaningless term. Is it anything that is equal points, as in your points match? Is it only tournaments? Who knows? I complained about this last edition as well. Legends unit rules are free on the Games Workshop website. So about the only way to get free rules is to have your whole army as Legends. Now I don't see the Death Watch veterans going to Legends with the Space Marine Codex. I had already said this, I had explained why, I will explain again. While there should be an update for them alongside the Space Marine Codex as they are an index, hopefully upping the stats a bit, Death Watch veterans are no longer sold, but their rules will continue to be in the Imperial Agents Codex. You don't delete units in an active codex. It is not the done thing. Evidently you delete the whole army, as the Space Marine Divergent chapters show. Or you can make minor changes to their stats and their rules, in line with balance. But you don't delete things that are in a codex. Hence why moving units to Legends happens with the Space Marine Codex release, and didn't happen at the start of 11th edition. So units that are getting Legends rules are Centurions, both kinds, they still have Legends rules, Razorbacks, Predators of both kinds, the Vindicator, the Whirlwind, the Stormhawk, the Storm Talon, the Storm Raven, and the Hammerfall Bunker. The Rhino is still around, just not the Rhino variants. If you're wondering what it will transport, it was confirmed on social media that it transports more generic Space Marines, like Tacticus keyword Space Marines. Like Intercessors, who have previously not been allowed to sit inside. If you have a Space Marine Predator, maybe turn it into a Castigator. While the Vindicator is going, it is also confirmed that the Chaos Space Marine Vindicator will remain. Like I say, you don't delete units from another codex, even if the model is not sold. When the Chaos Space Marine Codex comes out, then the Vindicator will get Legends rules as a Chaos Space Marine unit. And hopefully it gets added to other Chaos Space Marine sub-factions, so like Emperor's Children can take it, World Eaters can take it, as they did during the Heresy. The Space Marine Flyers are gone. Well, the age of Flyers ended because the rules are very difficult to add onto regular 40k. And I've never thought Flyers quite match the feeling of 40k, especially when they're meant to be super fast things that fly incredibly quickly and strafe an area of the battlefield. That's the sort of thing I like to see as a stratagem. I didn't think it was needed as a unit and a model you can buy. The Thunderhawk gunship is still viable. That's a flyer that sticks around. The Hammerfall Bunker is a very new unit, but as a fortification, it moved to Legends. Games Workshop also doesn't know what to do with fortifications. It's not quite a piece of terrain, it's not quite a piece of terrain that you control, and as it has to be a unit in your army, you can do silly things like block off a massive area of the board with something that is an enemy unit. Even though it doesn't move, even though it's just a wall, your opponent can't move over it or move through it. So it's put into Legends so they don't have that kind of conflict at a tournament. And the Space Marine Dreadnought, the basic boxy Dreadnought that is made out of the Venerable Dreadnought kit, that is okay. Death is no rest. So maybe that will get an updated kit. Maybe. And then people can have a fight over whether or not the previous model is the same as the bigger model, even though it's the same unit, even though it's going to have the same kind of rules. Is it too small? And no, if it's got a base and you put it on the correct base for the tournaments, since the base size guide is for tournaments only, it's fine. Then we have all of the bad and worst news. So all that stuff about, hey, you've got better stats, you've got better strength and better toughness. That was like saying, oh, we've developed an even sweeter kind of sugar. By the way, I killed your cat on the way here. And no, I haven't kept the body. You can't even bury the body. Legendary counts as. They're bringing that back from the start of 10th edition. This is where we have Celestians with guns. You take a unit and you say, use it as a different unit. As in, there are no rules for this unit. Legends or otherwise, they do not exist. Legendary counts as is not Legends. I'm trying to get this through people's heads. It is totally different. Legends units get rules, they get points, they get a datasheet. Counts as gets nothing. This is deletion. This is saying, hey, legendary counts as, you don't count it as something else, you delete the faction rules. These units do not exist in 40k rules in 11th edition. And saying, hey, maybe your models can pretend to be another model. Like people who have Space Marines were not aware that Space Marines look like other Space Marines. We have been swapping heavy weapons between tactical squads and Devastator squads forever. People are way too calm about this bit. The counts as another unit means you are getting deleted. There are no rules for your unit. Legends rules are in the app. You can keep using them, but counts as is nothing. No rules for them. The faction-defining unit, no, the game-defining unit, has no rules to play them in 11th edition of 40k. The tactical squad is not an intercessor squad. What about the weapons that the tactical squads have? The flamers, the plasma guns, the heavy bolters, the missile launchers, the las cannons. What about the devastator squads? They are quite different to a desolation squad. Ignore the 2 plasma cannons and the 2 las cannons. Games Workshop said I can use it as a Vengor launcher. Which one of you held a monkey's paw as you wish the tactical squads would not get legend rules? Pedro Cantor is a chapter master. He should not be counted as a captain. Uriel Ventress I could see as a captain, because he is a captain, but Pedro Cantor has a Stormbolter and a Power Fist. You cannot add these weapons to a captain. And the Primaris are not spared. Suppressors count as Inceptors. The Suppressors were never given their own multi-part kit, only a monopose kit when the Phobos stuff was first released. We have no word on what will happen to pre-existing Legends units. Most of the time what happens is they just get rolled from one edition into the next edition. You're not as a Legends unit for one edition, then deleted after that. That is not the case. It has never been the case. But this time, they may look at many other units and say, those are now counts as. Will an assault squad with jump packs be a counts as jump pack intercessor? Oh, you don't have 20 tactical marines and 20 intercessors, you have 40 intercessors and can't take half of those to a tournament. You don't have 20 assault marines on foot and 20 assault intercessors, you have 40 assault intercessors and the max you can use at once is 30. Not good. Perhaps you could continue to use their 10th edition version rules? The legend version rules? But their points won't be updated and the balance will be way off, one way or another. Usually way weaker than they should be. But essentially, that is Legends. It's not the same. Oh, I could play previous editions. Yeah, but not many people want to do that. To learn an older version of a living game when all players will use the most recent version as default. We won't get a best version of 40k until Games Workshop stops making 40k. And they won't stop making 40k until they are destroyed as a company. Paul's potential plans aside, 17 people have directly messaged me asking me to check in on Paul because of the Centurions. Who is asking Paul to check in on me over tactical marines? Oh, Christian von Carmian will be fine. He's had entire factions of his removed from the game before. Yes, Centurions are gonna get legend rules. As in, they continue to have rules. A tactical marine with the plasma gun is not an intercessor with the bolt rifle. The 2 of us prepared as best we could and have already released a video on this topic. I was prepared for Legends rules. I was not prepared for this. My darlings and viewers, demand that Games Workshop gives at least Legends rules.